The Pacific War, a significant theater of World War II, spanned several years and involved a complex series of battles and invasions across the Pacific Islands. One of the pivotal moments of this conflict was the invasion of Palau, a strategic operation that allowed the Allied forces to move closer to the Philippines and Japan, marking a key step in the broader island-hopping strategy. The battle for Palau was characterized by its intensity and the fierce resistance offered by the Japanese forces, ultimately contributing to the final stages of the war in the Pacific. In 1944, after a series of decisive battles such as the Battle of the Philippine Sea and the Battle of Saipan, the Allies were steadily advancing towards Japan. The United States and its Pacific allies, including Australia, New Zealand, and local forces from the Philippines, adopted an island-hopping strategy, focusing on capturing strategically important islands while bypassing others. This method was designed to isolate Japanese garrisons, sever their supply lines, and create forward bases from which to launch further assaults on Japan itself. Palau, located in the western Pacific Ocean, was a significant island group that stood as a major obstacle between the Allies and their next targets, such as the Philippines and the Mariana Islands. The islands had been under Japanese control since World War I and had been heavily fortified during the preceding years, making them a prime target for Allied forces. By mid-1944, the Allies had moved ever closer to Japan's defensive perimeter, and Palau became one of the next key objectives in the fight for supremacy in the Pacific. Palau's strategic importance. The Palau Islands, located about 500 miles east of the Philippines, consist of several smaller islands, with the largest being Babeldabe. The islands were vital to the Japanese for both logistical and defensive reasons. Their proximity to the Philippines and other parts of the Pacific made them a critical part of Japan's southern defensive perimeter. The Japanese had constructed multiple airstrips, naval bases, and defensive fortifications, including underground tunnels and bunkers, which made any potential invasion highly challenging. For the Allies, capturing Palau was not only important for denying Japan this vital military hub, but it also provided a crucial airbase to support operations in the Philippines and further eastward toward Japan. The strategic value of Palau made its capture a necessary step toward achieving ultimate victory in the Pacific. The invasion of Palau was part of a larger Allied operation dubbed Operation Stalemate II, which was launched in the aftermath of the successful invasion of the Marianas Islands, particularly Saipan and Tinian. These islands had given the Allies an important base for launching air raids on the Japanese home islands. The next logical step was to eliminate any remaining Japanese positions in the western Pacific, and Palau was one of the key objectives in this plan. The operation began on September 15, 1944, with a pre-invasion bombardment of Japanese positions on the island. The Allies sought to weaken Japanese defenses before the amphibious assault by using heavy artillery and naval bombardment. This was followed by a series of air raids designed to destroy Japanese aircraft and supply lines. However, the Japanese forces in Palau, under the command of Lieutenant General Takeshi Imai, were well prepared for the incoming invasion. On September 17, 1944, American Marines and Army troops, supported by naval forces, began landing on the main island of Babeldabe, as well as the smaller island of Angaur. The beach landings were met with fierce resistance from the entrenched Japanese forces, who fought tenaciously to defend their positions. The Japanese military had fortified the island for years, and they utilized well-hidden bunkers and machine gun positions to inflict significant casualties on the landing forces. The battle for Palau was characterized by brutal, close-quarters combat. Both sides endured heavy losses, but the Allies made steady progress. The Japanese defenders, outnumbered and facing a much more powerful force, fought to the death rather than surrendering. By October 1944, the Allies had secured most of Babeldabe, but pockets of Japanese resistance remained in the dense jungle areas, requiring further operations to clear the remaining forces. The battle for Angaur. While the majority of the focus during the invasion of Palau was on Babeldabe, the island of Angaur also became a critical point of contention. The landing on Angaur began on September 17, 1944, at the same time as the assault on Babeldabe. Angaur, though smaller and less fortified than Babeldabe, presented its own set of challenges. The Japanese defenders on Angaur put up a determined fight, but the island was eventually secured by the end of September, providing the Allies with a crucial foothold in the region. The success in Angaur allowed the Allies to shift their focus toward the more fortified Babeldabe, and by the middle of October, the last pockets of Japanese resistance on the island were subdued. The invasion and subsequent capture of Palau had several important outcomes, both military and psychological. From a military perspective, The islands provided the Allies with a much-needed base for air operations in the Pacific. The airfields and naval facilities established on Palau allowed the Allies to conduct raids on Japanese positions in the Philippines, as well as assist in the buildup of forces for the impending invasion of the Philippines itself. Additionally, the capture of Palau removed a key obstacle for the Allies in their drive toward Japan, helping to pave the way for the liberation of the Philippines. The strategic importance of Palau also cannot be overstated, as it disrupted Japanese supply routes and communications between Japan and its southern territories, isolating many Japanese garrisons. Psychologically, the victory at Palau was another blow to Japan's morale. The defeat on Palau marked the loss of a vital part of the Japanese defensive line and further undermined their ability to defend the increasingly vulnerable perimeter of their empire. For the Allies, the victory bolstered confidence in the ongoing campaign and further solidified the momentum toward Japan's eventual defeat. Aftermath and legacy. Following the capture of Palau, the Allies continued their island-hopping campaign, moving steadily closer to Japan. The lessons learned from the intense combat in Palau, particularly in terms of amphibious warfare and handling entrenched Japanese resistance, were applied in future operations, including the invasions of Iwo Jima and Okinawa. Palau remained a vital military base for the Allies until the end of the war, and its capture played a significant role in the eventual Allied victory in the Pacific. Today, the islands serve as a reminder of the sacrifices made during the Pacific War and the strategic importance of the region during one of the most significant conflicts in world history. In conclusion, the invasion of Palau was a key chapter in the Pacific War. It exemplified the ferocity of the island-hopping campaign and the determination of both the Allied and Japanese forces. While it may not be as widely remembered as some other battles in the Pacific, its importance in the broader context of the war cannot be underestimated. The successful capture of Palau brought the Allies one step closer to Japan, contributing to the eventual defeat of the Japanese Empire in 1945.